Hey guys, welcome to a new video. So the last few weeks I've had a few people reach out and ask me if they can get access to this spreadsheet, the one that I created for my own high income portfolio. So I'm going to make that accessible to everyone. I've created a link and a download for it, and I'll touch upon that in a minute. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about YIELDMAX distributions, because of course yesterday we had announcement distributions for Group D, and what was exciting about this was actually the second time that we're getting paid this month in August for Group D, which is my biggest holding, MSTY, even though I've reduced my shares slightly in MSTY. Still my biggest holding, MSTY, SMCY, XYZY, LFGY, and ULTY for me. So I was actually a bit worried that MSTY distribution was going to be under $1. So when I saw it as $1.08, I was like, okay, I'm pretty happy with that. And that's actually a pretty good distribution and a good net income amount for me. So that's over that's just almost 9,000 Australian dollars net after withholding tax of 15%. So I was like fairly happy with that. SMCY, it always produces pretty good distributions because it's high volatility, and therefore its income is usually pretty good. I think it was close to 100% again. So another $2,000 net for that. XYZY, that's okay. LFGY, always consistent, always around that 40-45 cent mark at 44 cents this week. Another 277 bucks in the bank. And then ULTY, it's very consistent. It didn't hit that 10-cent mark, which everyone's kind of hoping that it does. But as long as it's over the 9 cent, I think that's pretty good. So another 233 bucks from that. And then of course, look, I don't know if I should even call my channel YIELDMAX and Chill anymore, because as you can see, it's becoming more like YIELDMAX, ROUNDHILL, and Chill a little bit. I have slowly been reallocating some of my funds from the YIELDMAX ETFs into ROUNDHILL, just because I like the uncapped upside of the ROUNDHILL weekly ETFs. I've been putting a little bit of my MSTY investment and rotating that into MSTW, which is the MicroStrategy ETF from ROUNDHILL, and so that's now producing weekly distributions for me. You'll see here 337, then 916, 1750, and then 681. And the reason I like that is because yes, it's weekly income, but that I'm not too worried about. What I do like about this is that it's uncapped upside, and I think that MicroStrategy is kind of at a low right now, and I think it will go up in October, November, when Bitcoin bull run really kicks in. And I still think Bitcoin will be at over 150K by the end of this year. Actually, a few people have been asking in the Facebook groups, will MSTY recover and get back to the mid-20s or in the 20s? And I think it definitely will. I think it will get back to the mid-20s, possibly even to the $30 mark. If we look at last year, it was around a similar, I was a bit higher, it was around the $19 mark. And then Trump got elected, and we had that kind of big Bitcoin bull run where it went from 60K to like 105K or something like that. And of course, MicroStrategy absolutely pumped during that time. And I think MicroStrategy is quite undervalued at the moment. This isn't, this isn't what's the word? Financial advice. Do your own research, but just from my own research, my belief is that MicroStrategy is slightly undervalued. Its MNAV is still well under 2, I believe, and so I just think that there's a lot of opportunity and room to move to the upside, and I think it will be at least mid-20s, potentially might even get to the 30. I don't think it'll reach as high as 44 or the 45s again, just because, and this is my problem with the YIELDMAX ETFs, is that upside is capped, and that is why I've essentially been rotating into MSTW, because it's a leveraged ETF. It's 120% exposure on the returns. So if MicroStrategy goes up 10%, then MSTW, which is a leveraged ROUNDHILL ETF with income, will go up 12%. So MSTR goes up 10%, MSTW goes up 12%. So I'm just trying to capitalize, as we're at a pretty low area for MSTR and for MSTY and for MSTW. I'm trying to capitalize on that low price point at the moment to try and capitalize when we eventually shoot up, which I believe, according to my research, we will. Not a crystal ball. Of course, please do your own research. No one really knows, okay? So anyway, pretty good. And so this was actually a record month for me. So we've got all distributions in here, and look at this, I've hit the $40,000 mark, $42,748. I am super happy with this. Of course, I have to take this with a pinch of salt. Not every month is going to be a 5-week month, and not every month is going to be 2 payouts for my biggest holding week, which is Group D. So of course in August we had 2 payouts for Group D. So I've had 2 payouts of MSTY in 1 month, which, you know, in total accumulated to 20,000. So almost half of my entire net income for this month has been from MSTY, even though it's not been doing too well. So anyway, I'm very happy, of course, with those distributions and the record income for this month, 42,748. As I said before, what I generally do is I take out what I want to live on, what my family and I need to live on. So that's usually $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 Australian per month, and then I reinvest. So that's almost given me $25,000 to $30,000, which I'll be reinvesting back into the market, back into some of these funds in dips and at good price points of these ETFs that I believe in. And most of that is, to be fair, it's going into Roundhill more now than it is going to YIELDMAX, and that's simply because I prefer the structure of the Roundhill weeklies. I like the 120% leverage, and I like the uncapped upside. I also really like COIW from GRANITESHARES YIELDBOOST, because it's 180% distribution rate, and I just can't ignore that. And because it's a Coinbase ETF, this is GRANITESHARES Coinbase one, I've been slowly adding to that position. And I've actually added NVIDIA, because that's 100% distribution as well. So I've added that here. So yeah, I'm getting more into the Roundhill and more into the GRANITESHARES. And actually, as you can see, I've actually sold off a couple of my positions from YIELDMAX. And that was Tesla. I sold it. SMCY or Snowy, which was a really bad timing, by the way, because I think they just had earnings and it's pumped to like 8% overnight. So obviously don't listen to me. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going on, because as soon as I sold it, SMCY or Snowflake, the underlying, has pumped like 8%. So there's your evidence. Don't do what I do. Do your own research. But yeah, I just really like these Roundhill ETFs, and I'm quite liking the high distributions, because they are basically creating income off a leveraged 2x underlying. It's not a 2x leveraged ETF, but they are creating income off a 2x leveraged position, and that's how they create 180% distribution for COIY and 100% for the NVIDIA one, which is NVYY. So I actually sold some of my NVDY, the YIELDMAX one. I put some of it into here, and I put some of it into the Roundhill one, NVDW. So I kind of kept a third in NVIDIA, put a third into NVDW, and put a third into NVYY. So this is a high distribution. This will go up quite a lot if NVIDIA goes up. They've had earnings. It didn't come out. It's kind of like, it's gone down a little bit, but nothing too much to worry about. So I probably won't add to it either. But yeah, this is just what I'm doing at the moment. But of course, we have this free download, which I've made accessible. There'll be a link in this YouTube description somewhere, which you can access. Just go and download it. And this is what it will look like. So I've given you, hold on a second, just hide this. So it will be the dividends monthly. So I've just kept my ETFs in here and then provided an example. And then also in here, I've got the calendar. So I like this because it's nice to see when you're getting paid from each of the, because we have so many companies that are giving high yield distributions at the moment. It's nice to keep an eye on which one's paying when. So this actually shows what's paying on Mondays, what's paying on Tuesdays. That's the Roundhill ones, they pay out. The GRANITESHARES ones pay out on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays is the REX ones, so MSTY. Thursdays is YETH, I hold YETH, so that's also Roundhill. Defiance, MSTY, I hold that. And then Fridays is, of course, the big one from YIELDMAX, so that's when a lot of us get paid from all our YIELDMAX investments. So I just like this to keep an eye on it, but also you can see here kind of when ex-dividend day is and when payment day is. So you'll see like ULTY payment on Friday, but then you also see ULTY ex-dividend date, so you can see it like that kind of thing. So Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's just nice to visualize if you're not sure, because people always ask, like, when is this getting paid? And so I thought I'd just include this because it's a nice visualization, so you can see when ex-dividend date is and when payment date is. Now also weekly income, this is going to be a bit skewed based on what you do in this monthly sheet, but I've kept it in there just in case you want to play around with it and keep that included. But you will have to change these based on what your positions are and what your investments are and what ETFs you hold in this main spreadsheet. So in this main spreadsheet, most of these formulas are done for you, and all you have to do is enter the share amount, the dividend amount, and your average cost price. So I've created an example here. If you hold MSTY of 1,000 shares and the dividend is 1.1, well, let's change that because we got it yesterday. What was it, 1.08 or something? So 1.08, then it will automatically update this, and you'll see that you will get, so this is also, you'll get gross USD, so $1,080 in gross, then tax. Now this is my tax, so if you get taxed 30% withholding tax, if you don't get taxed at all, you're obviously going to have to change this. If you have 30% withholding tax, you just change this from 1.5 to 30. So you just do that, and then it'll change it to be a higher amount, 324. Otherwise, keep it as 1.5. Or if you don't have withholding tax in your brokerage, then just remove it and have your gross amount. Whatever works for you, whatever happens in your country or your personal tax situation, you just need to play around with it accordingly. So then obviously after the tax amount, that gets reduced to make the total net USD. And then for me, you're only going to keep this in AUD if you're in Australia, so that's probably not going to be most people. So this is an Australian exchange rate from USD. What you should do is wherever you are in the world, if you're in the UK, for instance, you would find the exchange rate from USD to Great British Pounds, and you would use that, and that will give you your pound net amount based on the exchange rate that you use. You should need to change that from 1.56 to whatever it is in British pounds or in your local currency. Okay, so those are the only things you need to play around with, and then the other thing you need to enter is your average cost price. So I've just put in $22 for MSTY here, and then that gives you an example of what you're going to achieve in terms of yield. So that will show you how much you've actually invested in this position. So 1,000 shares of $22 cost price, average cost price, is a $22,000 USD investment. What that works out to based on that dividend is a 4.91% return monthly and a 58% return annually. Those are gross and these are net. You'll have to play around with these based on your tax situation. Otherwise, just keep it in gross. It's easier to do, right? And then, so I'll just do an example for you here. So say Coney, say we have, so this is all you need to do. There's just 3 things that you need to enter, obviously, unless you need to change things around in your tax situation and your currency situation. But if you don't need to play around with those, then the very basics of what you need to do is enter your shares, your dividend, and your average cost price. So let's say you have 500 shares of Coney, and your average cost price on Coney is $8, and the dividend comes out at 0.55, right? So that's all you need to do, and then you'll get all the numbers based on what you're going to make. So 365 net Australian dollars or $275 for that distribution amount based on the shares that you have. This is your average cost price, and your average cost price based on that dividend amount will give you your monthly return and your annual return, as well as that's gross annual return and your net return. So that's all you have to do is enter these, and of course you just change these according to what you're holding. If you don't hold SMCY, just change it to NVIDIA, PLTY, or ULTY, whatever you're holding, change these. And then this is, I just separate it by color, so I know I'm a visual person, so it's nice to have these separated into blue. So these are the ROUNDHILL ones, these are the ROUNDHILL weekly ones that I'm really liking at the moment. And then again, if you hold MSTW and you've got 100 shares of that, and it comes out at 0.12 a share, and then you have your cost basis, which is, I don't know, 10, and then we'll just do all the calculations for you. It'll say you're making $16 that week, which is terrible because I've just entered random numbers, but it will just do all the calculation of what you're going to make, okay? And just delete that, and delete that, and then you do that for each week. Now the good thing is ROUNDHILL has a 5-week payment for September, because because Roundhill pays on Tuesdays, and there's going to be 5 Tuesdays in the month of September. So this is going to be another good payment month if you're holding Roundhill ETFs. There's 5 weeks of payment for Roundhill weekly pay ETFs. So all your COIWs, your PLTWs, your NB, all these ones ending with W essentially. 5 weeks you get. And same with COIW, actually, the GRANITESHARES ones, because they also pay on a Tuesday. So those are also going to give you 5 payments this month in September, both of these, or any GRANITESHARES ETF that you hold that's high income. MSTY, just standard, 4 weeks. But yeah, so that's it. And then it'll total up your amount. So, you know, once you enter all these positions over the course of the month, then it will total it all up for you, and it will give you what your income is. And then say you put in, what have I got in the weekly income? So let's use ULTY, let's see if this works. If we put in ULTY for week 1, let's just say we've got 900 shares and it's paying 10 cents, and your average cost price is $6. All right, then we're getting 119 for the week. And you can see it's a gross yield of 84% and a net yield of 71%. And then that should populate this. Yeah, so you'll see that that populates this, $119 for the week for ULTY, and it gives you yield on cost. Excuse me. And then, so that should populate, as soon as you enter all these figures in for these weekly distribution amounts, then this will populate and it'll give you your weekly income. You're going to have to change this based on how many times you do this, but that's just to give you an idea of what you're making per week, and this will give you a total of what you're making per month. So just wanted to share that with you and make this available as a free download, because everyone, or not everyone, a few people have been asking for it, and they've been commenting that they like the spreadsheet and they would love to have access to a version. So I've got these 3 tabs, these 3 worksheets within this one spreadsheet. So you can give it a go and put your own portfolio in here and keep tabs on things. So I hope you like that. Hope that's of value. And yeah, that's it for this week. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for listening. Give us a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.